Hey guys, so at this point you have come up with your idea and you're going to begin starting to collect the data. You've gotten feedback from me and hopefully from other members of the class. The idea now is to collect the data, and then really comes the hardest part of the project, which is translating the data. Okay? That is like really where you're going to have to put some thinking in and some experimentation. And I do believe really that one of the first artists that we looked at from last week, Natalia Maybach, is one of the best examples of maybe not, oh, I get maybe one kind of the project, but also of like that translation process, because she does talk about it in the video, and there is some decent documentation about like, well, how does she make those choices? And in part, it's not necessarily random, but she's choosing to do like the color coding and things like that. So, I mean, I guess you could make the argument like, oh, yeah, that's kind of random, but not if she's the one directing the project. So, like in some of her scores, she has like this data point will be yellow, okay, and then this data point here is going to be purple, and yada yada. And she says in her video how she starts with, simply just kind of uh, using weaving, the X and Y axis as a starting point. So she assigns a piece of like the woven basket that she's making is going to be this. And then she goes that way with it. And then, oh, here's another data point, and that goes around. Um, here's another one. I know it's kind of hard to see, but again, it's her data collection process and kind of like some of the notes and sketches she's thinking about it. So if you want to, I guess, download that and look at it closer, you can. Um, but again, so her collection process or her subject is weather. Okay, visualizing data weather, and it comes into the form of a musical score and a sculptural object, which is kind of cool. But again, like her process is kind of good to think about because, like, you're going to have some data that, okay, so yada yada, I collected this data. All right, so in my image, that'll be yellow, I guess, or blue or whatever. You're going to have to make those decisions. And it's probably helpful to also, think about like, well, what kind of image am I looking for? Okay. So that's part of the process as well. Again, we're not trying to necessarily make pie charts. All right. So how do we get out of that kind of, uh, you know, typical visualization mode? All right. One other thing I want to talk about in this short video, well, also not video, this audio. Um, I guess it is kind of video. This is another good resource. Okay, read this. This is a little bit more about what she's doing. All right, it's very short. Also, you can look at this. This is a cool article that's contemporary, and again, it's about like new media artists, um, digital artists using data visualization. Okay, here's some other pieces that are kind of cool. Okay. Also, here is a really great video about this artist, Alan McComb. And it's not necessarily data, but he's like using systems to create his work. So it's like a little bit about what we're doing. I actually really like it though. I really like his work as well. So you can check that out too. Last thing in this that I want to talk about is this. little project, little practice I'm going to have you guys do and turn in. So this is like your practice of visualizing data, and you can read through it. But typically, we used to practice visualizing data in the classroom. Okay, I would say, okay, you guys go and for 5 minutes walk around the BTC and collect some kind of data. A lot of people would be like, what are you talking about? So, like I was like, well, make a map, collect the data of your path of just walking. So some people would do that. Some people would just observe what other people were doing for 5 minutes and like make notes or sketches or whatever and try to do that. Some, there's like a bunch of different ways like people would do it. So it's kind of interesting. Um, so I have two examples. I talk about how they did it, but what I would like you to do is to practice this this week while you're collecting your data for your larger project. Try collecting 5 minutes of data in one room of your house. I guess you could walk around if you wanted to. But think about like, is it a busy room? What time of day? What kind of activity is going on? And then like, how are you going to collect it? Is it going to be sound recordings, visual observations, or are you going to use like photography? Maybe just use your phone. It's up to you. But once you have collected that data, run to your computer, knock mom and dad out of the way and open up Photoshop and just practicing, try to translate that data. Okay? How does that become an image? So I say in Photoshop, make a document that is 5 by 7 or 7 by 5 at 250. Begin translating it. Okay? Should have a minimum of 3 layers, and it should show kind of a thought process. All right? So when I click through, I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of interesting. Please submit on Blackboard under Forager Practice. In the comments description, please detail your process of data collection and then describe your translation process. Okay? So tell me like what it was you were collecting and then tell me, okay, this is what I was thinking about for a translation process. This is how I got to that image. Okay? So if you submit something that looks like that, you should be able to tell me in the comments section, like, hey, this is what yellow meant, this is what blue meant, this is why, tell me about it. Same thing if it looks like this. Okay? What's this pattern about? What are these lines? Why are there feet on here? All that stuff. Okay? And actually describe what these two images mean. Okay? Up here. And yeah, these were done in class in about 20 minutes. So this practice should only take like a half an hour. If you're really stumped, I guess longer. But that's what I'm looking for. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.